Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears and the Museum of Malfunctioning Motor Cars. Speaking of car museums, this is going to be an interesting video. It's going to do something a little bit different. You see, I am going to the Petersen Automotive Museum for a Cars and Coffee event. And it's not just any Cars and Coffee event. This is their first ever electric vehicle only Cars and Coffee event. And it just so happens I own an electric vehicle. So when I first saw this event online, the first thing that came to my mind was, why would I want to go see a parking lot full of Teslas? I just go to work for that. But then I kind of thought, well, this is the Petersen Automotive Museum. There's probably going to be a much different crowd there. But also, I can bring my own electric vehicle that isn't a Tesla to this event and really kind of spread the word about electric motorcycles and Zero electric motorcycles. Now, Zero, the company, I gotta say I'm not too thrilled with what they've been doing lately because they've been following kind of the BMW model of locking out features behind a paywall. And that's bad enough for a car. But on a motorcycle where every ounce matters, that is just egregious. That is awful. Awful, awful, awful. And I want nothing to do with it. This is Zero doing it right. This was a no-nonsense motorcycle. It came with all of its features unlocked, and it came with nothing more than that. You could option it out with a fast charger. You could option it out with an additional battery. Mine has the additional battery for a total of 14 kilowatt hours, but really, at the end of the day, this motorcycle, this generation of Zero motorcycles specifically, is, in my opinion, the best application of electric vehicle technology. Why? Because you're not carrying around any extra mass. It's just you. And you get plenty of range to go to work and back. So for a commuter, this is amazing. You're not taking this on long trips, but, you know, maybe it is entirely possible to build a motorcycle that can go 300 miles on a charge. But anyway, I digress. We're going to Cars and Coffee tomorrow, so first thing we have to do is we got to clean this sucker. It's been, I don't know, like a year since I've cleaned it, and I've been commuting to work across town on it. So this thing is really disgusting. It's embarrassing, and I'll take you around and show you before I clean it. This is my little parking spot that I built just to charge up my motorcycle. Since I don't have any electricity in the garage, I bring it out here, I charge it overnight, and it kind of gets beaten by the sun in the morning hours. So between the time the sun goes up and the time I leave for work, it's just sitting here. And that's actually really concerning to me. So one of the things you might notice is that there is a difference in color tone of the plastics here. And that's because Zero, they used a really weak paint. And I had this thing sitting out in the sun for a few months under a cover, and the fender was exposed. And that just caused some fade on the bottom fender down there, and that was really disappointing to see. There isn't a whole lot of plastic that's painted, luckily, so I'm not like broken-hearted about it. And also the fender itself has a little crack on it, but it's still kind of a bummer. And it's something that I'm going to try to protect going forward. And you can see just how dirty it is here in the rear fairing here. And then on the side, I've got some sticky from a sticker that I put here, but then promptly fell off, so I have it down here. Turns out my stickers, just they're paper stickers, so they're not really good for cars. So I put it down there so it doesn't get rubbed on with my leg, because my leg goes right here, covers it, and it just pulled it right off. You see it's on because I got the light on. Let's go take a look at the mileage. And so I am up to just under 12,000 miles on this thing. I put on probably 2,000 miles just this year because I've been commuting again. I did not want to be commuting again, but I sure am glad I didn't sell this thing. I have here a Renthal bar, a left-hand brake. That is not a clutch. That is a left-hand brake. You see the brake reservoir there. These are aftermarket mirrors. And I have a rear fender eliminator. Most of this was, well, actually all of this was installed by the previous owner. And a really neat guy. He did a great job fixing up this motorcycle. One of the things that he did that I don't like is that with the left-hand brake, one of the quirks with this motorcycle is that when you park it on a hill, it will roll back. You don't have a gear to put it in to hold it. So he put a clamp on the brake here, and that ended up warping the rotor. So I have a warped rear rotor because of that. And that was very, very unfortunate. I'm living with it for now, but eventually I have to fix that. And then my big add-on was these weighted bar ends. These are not just weighted bar ends though. I have a throttle meister. They don't make these anymore. And what it does is you're cruising down the freeway. You want to be able to take your hand off the throttle. You just turn this and it will lock the throttle in position for you. And since the bike is off, I can do that for you. And so you can lock it in position, it holds it in position, and then when you are ready to put your hand back on and take control, you just twist it back off, and it will release pressure for you. This is a really, really neat little thing. There are other devices that do this, but they're not as sleek. They're not nearly as nice as this. So I am really happy I kept this. I bought this for my what is it? My Yamaha FZ6 way back in the day. Transferred it over to my BMW, and now it's on my Zero. And you can see from the red stripe, it was meant to be on a red motorcycle. So that's about it. There's not too much cleanup to do, but there is some work that I have to do in front of me. But once we're done with that, tomorrow we can get up at ass o'clock in the morning and go to Cars and Coffee. So I finished washing it and rinsed it off, dried it off with microfiber towels, and I have really only started on the back fender. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But even from a 10-foot, well, this isn't quite 10 feet, but even from where I'm standing, you can see that there is quite a color difference between here and there and there. So I'm going to wait until I'm done with this before I talk about the product that I'm using, because I have no idea how it's going to turn out. And, well, this wasn't free. This stuff was actually quite expensive. And if they had given it to me for free, I would be talking about them. I have used their stuff on other applications. I've used their metal polish in particular. But I've never used their wax, and I've also never used a ceramic wax. So this is supposedly a ceramic wax, and that's what makes the difference. And what I'm really hoping is that a ceramic wax will have that additional protection from the sun to keep that fairing looking good, to keep the rest of the paint looking good in those few hours that I am under the sun but not riding to work. So next, I am going to start with all of the red plastics, and then once that's done, I'll see how it goes with some of this black plastic. So I've got this black plastic here. I have no idea what this stuff is going to do to plastic, or for that matter, the frame, because the frame's got some haziness in it as well, and I'd like to get rid of that. All right, chemical guys, I like your product, so here's your free commercial. So this is what I just picked up. This is what I've used before. I've used the heavy metal polish. In fact, I just used it on the exhaust for my Prelude. So for the motorcycle, I got the ceramic coating Hyperwax. And let's go take a look at the motorcycle and see what it did. Now, since I purchased this and it wasn't cheap, it wasn't like Avalon King's expensive, but it was not cheap. I can be honest. It's not a miracle. I think my fender is just too far gone. I think it needs a new coat of clear in order to shine again. I don't think there is anything that can do anything about that. But that said, I am really impressed with how it handled the blacks on the motorcycle. So there's a lot of black. There's more black than there is red. And this is unpainted plastic, but it came out really, really nice. It got rid of all of the haziness that was in the plastic and really came out looking great. The reds, the painted reds, it feels nice and smooth. Obviously, there's going to be imperfections, like, you know, there's a little things here and there. Most of that is just a result of either my skill as a detailer or my level of caring. And I did almost no prep. All I did was wash this thing and wipe it down. I didn't clay bar it. I didn't wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol because I just don't care enough right now. On my Prelude or my Maverick, that might be a different story. And I might still use this stuff. So it came out looking great. I applied it just on one of these Costco microfiber towels, and it came out looking like blue boogers. And because of that, it would easily fall off the rag. So you got to be careful with that. You got to kind of put it right where you are expecting to apply it. So if you put it on your hand, you know, on the rag on your hand, and then turn around and go put it on, it might fly off the rag because it's boogers. But aside from that, I really like how it came out. I'm happy with it. I will use it again, especially considering the fact that I paid more money than I ever thought I would pay on wax. And also, to finish it up, I used their metal polish on the forks. The forks were not bad to begin with, but I just wanted to get all of the haziness off of it. I just wanted it to clean up and look like I give a damn. I mean, I kind of do. Like, I'm going to hit this spot one more time and see what I can do here. Yeah, that's not gonna get much better. All right, but yeah, the blacks came out really good. It feels nice to the touch. I think it might be hydrophobic. I mean, if you want me to do a demo of that for you, pay me. You know, give me free products and I'll spray this down with water. Just prove that it's hydrophobic. That's going to be it for now. I'm going to put this back in the garage and get back to work on the Prelude. And I will check in with you tomorrow for the Petersen Automotive Museum's first ever EV Cars and Coffee. That's a good use for a front trunk. This is a better use of a front trunk. I almost got one of these that had been wrecked, but then I realized it had been wrecked here, and that's probably a very bad thing on an electric car that is rear-wheel drive. You know, one thing I like about the Tesla, it's kind of the same thing I like about this, is that they're both cars. They're not crossovers, they're not SUVs. It's a car. A really nice one at that. Copyrighted music! Turn it down! Copyrighted music. Copyrighted music. This is very cool. This is like it's a fake V8 surrounding an electric engine, or this is probably a battery pack, and the motor's probably back here, isn't it? It's gonna be right, well, that's probably another battery pack, and then another battery, but the motor's probably down here somewhere. Oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, it actually has a pumpkin and a drive shaft. Wow. What's cool about the fake engine noises is that you can totally sneak through a car show with other cars like this, and they wouldn't get pissed off at you that you've got an electric car. Oh, it showed up. We were all wondering. And it is... Seeing it in person is special because of just how ugly it is. Oh my God. And it's gonna run me over and cut me in half. Just don't throw any rocks at the windows. Yeah. That windshield wiper is really something. Look at that. I mean, that's like the length. I have cars that are shorter than that. I like how shiny it is though. It has that DeLorean kind of vibe. It just doesn't have a truck vibe.
I'll let Peel do the thing.
Oh. Oh no. Yeah, you probably... This is definitely pre-production. I'll give them that, but yikes. Let's look at the suspension. That looks like an air ride suspension. That's kind of neat. Get underneath it. I'm the only lunatic getting underneath the truck to look at the suspension. But it's pretty standard. It is long. Air ride though. I wonder if this thing can squat on the ground. That's definitely a four-wheel drive. It's got that front axle there. One more pun. This truck sure looks sharp. I mean, like literally sharp. There's none of these out in the sun. I really like the way they look. I'm just bummed that it's Chinese. I mean, parent company's Volvo, which used to be a Swedish company, but now it's Chinese. Too bad, because it sure looks great, especially with these wheels. These must be custom wheels. It's a little tall. I think if you lowered it just like half an inch, it would look more car-like and be a little more sporty looking. Look at this, the legendary Pimp My Ride van. Built out here by West Coast Customs and then rebuilt by Freddie Tavares Hernandez. Tyler Hoover owned it for a minute, I believe. It is, it's a vehicle. Sure looks great though. I think Freddie did a great job on this, bringing it back to life. And I believe it runs really well too. Look at the denim seats. I actually kind of like that he didn't do anything with the denim seats. Just left them all torn up and worn. It's very, 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 very 90s. Hey, that's not an electric car. This is an electric vehicle, Cars and Coffee, and you brought a gas-powered vehicle, an ICE vehicle. Why? Why? This is a dream car. I don't care what you say. The only thing that makes me sad about this car is its registration sticker, 2012. This thing hasn't been on the road for a long time, but damn, this thing is awesome. It really deserves to be on the road. This is so, so, so cool. It also needs pop-up headlights. I got to touch it before they roped it off. They probably roped it off because I touched it. Approach angle, nothing. Breakover angle, nothing. Departure angle, nothing. This is the most interesting angle on this vehicle. It is so weird how stubby it is up front. It's kind of neat, but it's also very, very weird. This is easily one of my favorite cars here. This is one of my favorite cars in general. Oh, this is cool. I bet this thing's a riot to drive. This car doesn't belong here, but my God, it deserves to be here. And best part of all, it can be called Eleanor again. Oh, what a car. I was talking to the owner. This thing has a Tremec 5-speed and a Ford 9-inch rear end on a 351 Cleveland engine. Very, very cool. I'm just, I never thought I was a Mustang guy until, or even a Ford guy in general, until I ended up owning one. But this is, I understand why these cars are sought after, and mine isn't. Even though mine is basically the same thing underneath the exterior. So I was partially right, but I was also really surprised. This is very largely a parking lot full of Teslas. But there are some very cool custom vehicles here. And I got to talk to some of the engineers. Really, really fun time. This has been a great experience. I even got to meet the Tesla engineer. I know I talk a lot of shit about Tesla and trash on their truck quite a bit. And then I get to take a picture with the engineer. So that was interesting. I told him to build a motorcycle. Speaking of motorcycles, it turns out I have the only street legal, freeway capable motorcycle at this event. And that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited to have brought this thing here. And this is just a great event, and I hope it continues to grow. I hope there are more custom vehicles that show up next time. And the level of customization that I saw was just outstanding. There are electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, and it is just a really cool event. All right, so we're back home and I'm parked over here because my motorcycle's charging. Since we're home, we're back in a safe place. I can talk honestly about this event that I went to. I didn't realize just how much of a Tesla event this actually was. Tesla had pretty much the entire first floor at the Petersen Automotive Museum dedicated to them. So there were Tesla, Tesla, Tesla everywhere. And there was a lot of interesting things to learn about Tesla. There was a lot of stuff on display that was actually kind of cool to see. Like, for example, the prototype Model S. I'm getting eaten alive by bugs. The prototype Model S actually looks a lot better than the production car, in my opinion. Especially the rear end. It really looks good. But there are also a lot of things that I looked at and was like, man, I'm glad I don't have a Tesla. Like, they had a mobile up on the ceiling of all of the wires in a Tesla. Every wire harness in, I believe, a Model S or a Model 3. It doesn't matter to me. I looked up and went, oh, thank God I don't have a Tesla. Because I'm bad with electrical. I do things myself, and I'm bad with electrical. And I just can't imagine working on all those wires. Jesus. How long is it going to take for a no-nonsense car to come out where only the powertrain is electric? Maybe power windows, you know, that sort of thing. Those little things. But, I mean, God, not everything needs to be connected to the internet, guys. It was a novel idea when it first came out, but now that everyone's doing it, we got to go back to simplicity, just a little bit. And there's actually a really good reason I say that. And that's because cars are too expensive. It's like, what is the average car now? $50,000? That's insane. Normal people can't afford new cars. And if you want to evangelize electric vehicle technology and to make it something for the people, something everybody can afford, you gotta bring costs down. Like, way down. You gotta make a basic car. It's just an example. Why is the Toyota Corolla one of the most successful cars ever made? Well, it's because it's basic. It's simple. It gets the job done. It gets you from point A to point B with no drama, and it lasts forever, and it's cheap and easy to maintain. You're not going to get that with any of the cars that are in production right now. except maybe the Chevy Bolt. Chevy Bolt's pretty basic, but the vast majority of manufacturers, especially Tesla, you get in a fender bender, you're not going anywhere but Tesla. And even then, they might total the car out because your fender is dented. They call that a structural component, and you can't just go and do that yourself. You have to take it to our shop. And it's ridiculous. You can't get any factory support for a new vehicle today. And that's just, to me, feels unethical. It feels unethical. My other complaint about new cars in general, and specifically some features with Tesla, BMW, is the hiding features behind a paywall. Now, Tesla does it for like the auto drive, which is fine. You know, you're using an advanced AI that is owned and operated by the company, and you are using their network service that is connected to other cars. Yeah, okay, you can pay for that. But for heated seats, really? It's egregious enough on a car. But Zero's motorcycles are doing that too. This motorcycle that I really, really like, I will not own the new version of a Zero SR. Some things like additional range, like you're locked out of the battery that you already own. That's insane. That's insane. That is morally wrong. I really want to see a bare bones, super basic car that is made for everyday people out on the road. Not just something that caters to, you know, not just something that creates fanboys, caters to fanboys, but also I want to see more than what we're seeing on the road. I mean, I get it. I'm talking about the crossover fad. I get it. It's the thing that everybody's pushing. It's the thing that all Americans think they want. When they really need is a minivan. But everyone thinks they need a crossover SUV. Don't get me started on that. I want to see more small cars. I want to see, like, I really like the Chevy Bolt. It's a basic car. The rear suspension is like technology from the late 80s. You see that on a Civic CRX from 1987. It's actually pretty refreshing to see basic technology. You know, something is not over-engineered or engineered for the sake of engineering or for, you know, some imaginary creature comfort. We don't need mag ride suspension. Like, okay, maybe you want that on a race car, maybe you want that on a high-end luxury car, but regular, normal people don't need mag ride suspension. Come on. Shocks and springs are just fine. Last thing I learned at this place was that you have two different types of people at these events. You've got car people, and you've got electric car people. Those two are not necessarily in agreement. Let's just say that. I believe, and what I mean by that is car people appreciate all cars. Car people know a lot of cars. It doesn't matter what is driving it. If it has wheels and goes fast and you know, maybe even looks cool, we can appreciate it. I love electric cars. I love gas cars. But there's also internal combustion car people. There's also the people that, electric cars are worthless. And those people, like, I'm not talking about those people. Those people aren't going to be at an EV Cars and Coffee. So, you know, you could chalk that up to people who don't like technology. That's fine. And on the other end of the spectrum, you've got electric car people. Now, electric car people are not necessarily car people. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that they don't know anything outside of electric cars or even their electric car. They're like, especially Elon people. You know, the Tesla superfans are especially guilty of this, and I think it's just way too over the top. I have a huge appreciation for enthusiasts and enthusiast communities. I am a part of several enthusiast communities. But there's enthusiast communities and there's cults. I'm sure that's not a shock to anybody that said anything about a Tesla on the internet ever. But there were some people that it was like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna move on, because you can't say anything to them unless you are giving praise to our father Elon. You can't have a conversation about any car other than their car. And that is something I don't think I'll ever get used to. But aside from that, I had a lot of fun. I talked to a lot of amazing people. It was really cool to bring my motorcycle, my electric Zero there, because I was the only one that had, well, not only a motorcycle that could go on the freeway, but a motorcycle that could go on the road. So it drew a lot of attention, and I thought that was really cool. And the fact that I daily this thing, the fact that I commute on it, it's got a couple of dings, like my license plate is all bent up, and my electric motor is dirty. I didn't detail it well enough. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. You know, this was a really great experience, and I had an amazing time at the Petersen Automotive Museum for the first ever electric vehicle cars and coffee. And after the event itself, I got to go into the museum. I toured, did the standard tour, the 3 floors. And I gotta say, the Petersen is simultaneously the most inspiring and the most discouraging place you could go as a car person. Inspiring in that I go there and I'm walking around going, oh my God, I could steal that idea. I could totally do this. Oh my God, I have one of these. But then, and that's the really inspiring part. But then there's the realization that I will never build something worthy of the Petersen Automotive Museum. That's discouraging. But you know what? At the end of the day, it was a really great way to recharge. It was a really great way to get back in touch with, my love for cars, my love for my cars, and got me back in the garage. And I am happy to get back to work on my little shit boxes. Maybe someday, it'll be worthy of the parking garage at the Petersen Automotive Museum. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, comment. If you don't like what you see, maybe you're an Elon evangelist. Let me know. Give me your thoughts. I'll see you next week.